This isn't a stunt double. This is actually The Rock holding his breath underwater for a scene in 2015 San Andreas. He filmed each take in 10 to 15-second increments, and even learned CPR so he could perform it accurately on camera. This sinking building where it all happens was a 5-story tall set built on hydraulic legs, allowing it to sink into a massive water tank in Australia. This is just one example of how Dwayne Johnson has pushed the limits of what he and the stunt doubles and VFX artists he works with can do, making action sequences that seem implausible into a reality. The Jumanji stunt team had to handle The Rock's character leaping off a real motorcycle, flying in a perfect arc, and landing exactly on target, all in one smooth motion. For this incredibly complex move, second unit director Jack Gill and the stunt team built the 130-foot-tall head and then broke up the stunt into multiple parts, doing as much as possible in camera. First, a stunt motorcyclist rode the motorcycle about halfway up the statue. When the character swings around the nose and lands on it while jumping off the bike midair, the team relied on cables. The performer and the motorcycle were both attached to cables that were connected to 2 separate winches, which allowed the stunt team to pre-program these moves. That way, they would end up in the exact same place each take. Knowing the exact speed and trajectory meant that Jack could plan exactly when the camera should go up and get the shot. And for the motorcycle, the winch suspended it from the ground so the bike would remain undamaged from extra takes. These shots were all from far away. But here, Jack needed a hero shot of The Rock launching the grappling hook. So The Rock rode the motorcycle on a motion platform. That bike was about 5 feet off the ground and anchored in from the bottom so its wheels could move freely. And when he starts separating from the motorcycle, the actor was then pulled up in the air by a wire. In this scene from San Andreas, The Rock had to save a driver whose car was hanging off a cliff. Once again, that's really The Rock you see in the action. But the cliff is actually fake. To ensure the actor could safely pull off this stunt, the crew built a cliffside replica on a studio backlot. And that helicopter was actually missing its rotor blades. It was held up by a crane so The Rock could safely rappel 150 feet. The actor's training went beyond just working out. He spent time learning from first responders and LA Fire Department search and rescue pilots and participated in air rescue drills. Here, you can see him learning real helicopter rappelling techniques. In the action comedy Central Intelligence, The Rock gets hit in the face by this motorcycle. The final shot you see here is actually composed of several different ones. In one shot, this motorcyclist does a flip off this ramp. In another shot, Tanawai Reed, The Rock's cousin and longtime stunt double, gets ratcheted back. Because the camera was locked off in the exact same position, both shots could be combined seamlessly using visual effects. But for this shot, that really was The Rock barely dodging the motorcycle. While it looks like the motorcycle is coming down first, in reality, The Rock made the first move. The rider waited for him to turn and roll before placing his tire a safe distance away. The torpedo you see cruising on the ground in this shot isn't CG, but a prop version made to slide on ice. According to stunt coordinator Andy Gill, it was 10 feet long and weighed about 150 pounds. Then to keep Hobbs' Dodge Ram from sliding around the ice, the special effects team replaced the tires with mat tracks, allowing it to safely drive at 50 miles per hour. The torpedo was attached to a 50-foot-long cable and dragged by a vehicle going about 40 miles per hour. The 35-pound sandbag seen here helped to stabilize the object. The Dodge Ram was slowed down to the same speed so a stunt performer could lean out of the car. That performer was attached to an overhead cable to support his weight while his feet slid on the ground. The shots where you can see The Rock were filmed against a blue screen. And because the torpedo wasn't actually functioning, Andy and his team had to blow up this vehicle by filling it with explosives and towing it without a driver. In this shot, the torpedo was added with CG at the moment the explosion occurred. In Skyscraper, The Rock plays a Marine veteran who loses his leg. He wanted to make the stunts as real as possible to show how much his character is capable of. So he worked with Paralympian Jeff Glassbrenner, who was the first amputee to climb to the top of Mount Everest. Jeff helped The Rock master walking and running with the correct step pattern. Like here, when his character sprints and jumps off a crane. While the background and building you see aren't real, both the crane itself and the jump are. Jeff's insights were also helpful for when the character has to scale the building. His advice? Never step down with your prosthetic leg first. In this scene in Rampage, The Rock's character escapes a crashing C-17 plane. Making all this look real involved some gravity-defying wire work. First, real plane engines created intense air pressure to blow wind throughout the set, but that wasn't enough to send the actor flying. So he was also harnessed into this wire rig, designed to drag the actor backwards when he loses his grip here. Once The Rock and actor Jeffrey Dean Morgan fall out of the plane, the scene switches to footage of professional skydivers in the air, as the stunt was too dangerous for them to perform themselves. And yet, you can see The Rock's face clearly. That's because director Brad Payton used facial swapping technology to place The Rock's face on the stunt double. In Red Notice, The Rock's character gets attacked by a bull mid-fight, which would have been too dangerous to do for real. So for this move, Tanawai was strapped into cables powered by an air-pressured cylinder. The more air pressure they applied, the farther and more aggressively he was yanked. Tanawai estimated he was pulled about 20 feet in the air. In the end, the cable was removed from the shot and a CG bull was added in. One memorable action sequence from Hobbs Shaw has The Rock scaling a CIA building while fighting Idris Elba's character. Making this look real and intense involved a lot of moving parts, literally. Here, The Rock ran on a track while strapped into the stunt performer. You can also see him throwing punches and then swinging on a rope in front of a blue screen. But The Rock couldn't take all the hits by himself. That's Tanawai involved in a complicated maneuver known as a handpull. Tanawai was connected to a cable which was run through a pulley. All of that was connected by a rope held by two stunt riggers standing on ladders, whose bodies acted as counterweights. Once they jumped down, that yanked Tanawai through the air and into the car. But this was all just warm-up for the film's epic finale in Samoa. This sequence was deeply rooted in fighting styles from Polynesian cultures, which emphasized stick fighting, knife fighting, and delivering strong, powerful blows. So real contact between The Rock and his enemies was crucial. That contact still needed to be safe, so this weapon you see The Rock holding is completely fake. The props team designed it to be soft enough to sell the hit, but not so soft it would appear fake on camera. The impact of those hits was also exaggerated. Right here, this stunt performer was actually attached to a ratchet that pulled him back to accentuate The Rock's blow. And one of the most physically challenging elements of the Samoa scenes was the Siva Tau, a traditional Samoan war dance that The Rock and his crew perform as they prepare for battle. The Rock told director David Leitch that because a Siva Tau is so emotionally intense and physically draining, they only had a few takes to get it right and give it his all. In Black Adam, The Rock spent a lot of time floating in the air. So the special effects team built motorized carts to both lift and move the actor while he stood in place. Each cart was powered by an electric motor and consisted of 4 omnidirectional wheels that could spin the cart and move it left, right, backward, and forward. With all the movements programmed on a computer, the crew could use the rigs for a wide range of distinct flying motions while making his flight look as smooth as possible. When it came to him lying flat while in flight, like when he took on the Intergang, The Rock was clamped into a 12,000-pound robotic arm. As Hercules, The Rock needed to shape his body into a demigod for battle scenes like this one. So over the course of 6 months, he embarked on one of the most intense training regimens of his career. He worked out 6 days a week. Each session started with 50 minutes of cardio, followed by working out a specific muscle group, making sure he fit in leg exercises more than once a week. He also adhered to a strict diet. While he followed a 14-week diet for 2013's G.I. Joe Retaliation, Hercules required a 22-week diet that was high in proteins, fats, and carbs such as egg whites, filet mignon, asparagus, and baked potatoes. Alongside this, The Rock also went through 8 months of weapons and fight training with a team of specialized weapons experts, so he could accurately portray how Hercules yields and fights with his club when he takes down his opponents here.